Good day. Greetings, wherever you are on the planet. And thank you for showing up with our weekly WeAwake meditation session. So it's always, anyway, glad to have you here. And today we're going to be listening to Heaven and Earth, which is normally an hour program, but we're going to chop it off. I mean, put it in two, so it's just a half hour. Really great track. And yesterday was the day before. Anyway, I did a podcast with Greg Thomas, and he is an integral thinker, a scholar and expert on issues of racism in the United States, and also a musician and a scholar of jazz and blues and the African American incredible contribution to American music and world music. So both these things I'm very interested in, both the racial stuff and and the music. I'm recording an album right now. I'm a musician, it's what I do. So it was really, really good. But one thing we got to, and if you guys know anything about spiral dynamics or the developmental stuff that that is part of the integral map or the aqua map, it's super important and absolutely game changing once you get this. I don't know how many years ago that I started doing this, but I've written about it. Oh, if you want to read about it, get my book, Integral Recovery. Many people said it's probably the best introductory work on the application of integral theory that's out there. So, and it's also really good on addiction and recovery. So that's a possibility, or just look up spiral dynamics. I mean, it's been around for a long time. It's really important. And, the internet is full of stuff, good information and good teachers. So one of the things that came out is in kind of the traditional mode level, right? You have these traditional and goes back to tribal, the most ancient layers of our human consciousness and what our ancestors were doing thousands of years ago, and what some of our, human family members are still there today. I read one time there was like 30 tribes in the Amazon that still hadn't had contact with the modern world. And that was a few years ago. I probably think it's less, but that was kind of nice to think. Anyway, so at the traditional level, which is where fundamentalists and Christians, and by the word fundamentalism is a word invented by Christians, so it's not a pejorative, and people, fundamentalists, whatever, whether it be Muslim or Judaism, there's certain characteristics that go along with it. And one of the things that comes out at that level is ethnocentrism. What is that, you might ask? Well, it's when you prefer your people like you, your tribe, your family, your nation, you can expand it, your universe. By that time, to your universe, I think you're pretty well on the way. You can stop, don't worry about it. But so it's built into us evolutionarily that we are ethnocentric. And Greg, we were talking about this, and Greg said, well, that ethnocentrism is the roots of racism. So you take that preference for your type, and that can be fed, in a negative way, and is often manipulated by people, bad faith actors, to stir up racism, to get power and control over people. So we all have that, we all have that ethnocentric developmental level. And the idea is, and what the research has shown, is that when you get beyond that, you go into modernism, which followed historically. And these are also story of our human family, but also our individual quests in life. Everybody starts out at the bottom, square one, you're a lovely little baby, and you go up to as far as you get in your lifetime. But at modernism, that starts to go away. And like in the United States Constitution, which was one of the most powerful early manifestations of modernism, said all men are created equal. And I realized I said men, but that's what they said. They hadn't quite expanded that to include all humans. all people, women included, and everything in between. So, why am I talking about that? Well, because racism is a real problem, but we all have this ethnocentric part that we have to go through. And it's okay to really care about your people or your country or your family or your friends, or, you like pink people like me, okay, well, right. The only time I was ever really white was when I was having a massive heart attack. And I think I was truly a white man, but I'm more of a pink man. But anyway, let's not get too far from the subject, John. So, well, why is this important? Well, because it's just another another issue, and there's kind of this woke movement going on in the United States now, where people are very, very radically, everybody's racist, America's racist, blah, blah, blah. It's all revolves around that, and that's just what we are, and that's who you are, and you can't. There's no hope unless you get woke, and that goes away. And there's an Aesop fable. Who was in the story, he was a slave in ancient Greece, before the Christian era, and he told wisdom stories and tales. And he has this one story where the sun and the wind are looking at this guy walking down the road, and he has his cloak on, and they said, let's do this bet. And the wind says, I bet I can get him to take that cloak off better than you can. I said, okay, we'll give it your best shot. So the wind just comes and comes. And of course, what's the guy do? He grabs onto his cloak for dear life. And then he says, okay, you had your shot. Then the sun just warms up and gets really nice and gets really comfortable. So he takes his cloak off. So why am I saying that? Well, because I believe that we're all ethnocentric. We all have that part of us. Now, it doesn't have to be malicious racism, but it's the roots of us and all of that. And I think just by accusing people, especially people that are at that level, traditional level, and saying you're racist, you're bad, you're acting like the wind, and they'll just grab onto their ethnocentric racism and just hold it tighter. So I think love and compassion and understanding, and realizing that that's not a pejorative, that's just the way we evolved, because that identification was with your tribe and your group was really important for survival in the early stages of our evolution on this planet. So we still have that. And therefore, if we're going to get through this problem of racism, and not just the United States, but everywhere, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to develop to these higher levels where that begins to dissipate. And you still have that, you still have your ancestral and all the early stuff there, but you transcend it. The container becomes larger, and so you can hold it in a more spacious place. And how do we do that? Well, there's integral practice, there's reading and studying everything. But one of the things that science has said that has really been verified, that 5 years of daily meditation practice, even without the technology that we're talking about here with WeAwake, can shift the practitioner like 2 levels in a very brief time. And that's fantastic. So if we want to overcome, say, our ethnocentric, the negative part of it, and there's a positive part of just caring about yours, right? Yours just gets bigger and bigger. We need to work on ourselves. And one of the ways we can work on ourselves is through this interior work that we talk about all the time. So, so I suggest in this meditation today that we just open our hearts and, say, God, me better than I know myself. Rumi said, God is closer to you than an eyelash on your eyeball. You think of a little hair on your eyeball, God's closer than that. So he was making a powerful point there. So we don't have to always tell spirit exactly what our issues are, because, we are spirit, and spirit knows us really well. So to open our hearts up and let the warm sun of the universal love that is also often embodied with the word God and other words warm our hearts up and expand and help us to grow into the level where we become more compassionate, more skillful, wiser, and or loving. That's a pretty noble thing, I would think. So this is Heaven and Earth. It's a half hour. It's really, really good track. I love this. And I think we're about ready to roll here. So let me see if I can get my thing going. Yeah, so this is 1.5 hours. So just sit up straight if you can. And you might in the beginning just go to 5 and count to 0. And just say 5, relax. And then feel your shoulders relaxing, your tongue relaxing, your thighs, your belly, all that, and go to 4, relax and deepen, and just feel that deep relaxation. And 3, 2, 1, relax, and then 0, completely relax. At that point, you can just say, "Okay, God, I'm ready. Start working on me." Okay, so yeah, let's do it. Wow, that was a very brief half hour. I don't know how it was on your from your perspective, but it's fast. Um, and yeah, it was beautiful. So, we were talking about in deep prayer and meditation, which in my practice, they're pretty much synonymous. Meditation is my preparation for prayer. Stop my mind and relax and do all the things that, basic meditation 101. And that gets me ready to flip the switch and say, okay, I'm present. Anything I'm supposed to be learning? I mean, not all at once, but anyway. So, yeah, so we have shadow stuff, right? That we have to work on, but we also have light stuff, and gorgeous stuff. And we talk about shadows and dark shadows, things that you know, you say, well, I'm not a racist, maybe you're not, but you might be. And it may be something that you just kind of kept away downstairs, and it still affects your overall spiritual development, emotional development, intellectual development. So it's good to open ourselves up and be willing to, confront anything that needs to be dealt with, needs to be felt, and then released. But I'm recording an album right now, okay, and I'm a musician, and I haven't been in a recording studio in like 20 years, but we live in the South now because of various family things. And there's really a lot of good musicians around here and a good producer and everything. So I was very concerned. I probably expressed this about the Ukrainian situation, the war, the invasion of Russia, of Ukraine by Russia. And they didn't do anything to provoke it. It's just like Emperor Putin says, "Me want," right? So he sends out, hundreds of thousands of people die because he just wants a big chunk of land. So I didn't, you know, so I hadn't written a song in a long, long, long time. So I just started. I can't remember how I wrote songs. I used to write a bunch of songs, and I think some of them are pretty good. And so I started coming. I started getting the chorus. Just Ukraine, Ukraine. Come on and shout. It's kind of a place to really let all your feelings out. Just like, and then the verses started coming. Kind of looking at it from the Ukrainian perspective, as per my Ukrainian friends that I'm very close to. So, wow, it was a really good song. And in the studio, and we got these guys together to play bass and and drums and accompany me and kind of do this live production. And it went. I felt it was really good. So that started me recording again, and I was going to do 10 songs. And it turns out that blues is kind of where I start from. And so I wrote at least 4 blues songs for it and, performed them really good. But it's kind of dark and it's kind of painful, as life sometimes is. So at the end, I was thinking, like, oh, well, there's actually one that I wrote that's not, but there's a song called "It's All Too Much" by George Harrison, and it's on the Yellow Submarine album. It was written right around the time of Sergeant Pepper's, but it was released later. And it is just gorgeous song about just the ecstatic experience. And I'm sure he was influenced by LSD, and it's all too much for me to see the love that's shining all around me. And these are very legitimate spiritual experiences, whether it's facilitated by psychoactive substance or a plant or something like that. We have those kinds of experiences, and they're life changing, and they're life altering and sustaining, and prepares us for life, prepares us for death, prepares us how to behave, while we're here, this body. So I thought it was something that attracted me. That song, I thought I could bring something to it, and then it's like when a Beatles song, to me, they're very important and sacred, almost like, sacred text. Some of the songs are so incredible. And so I didn't want to just do it, just for my ego's sake, but if I had something to contribute. So I went in a couple of days ago, and I had been going through some pretty dark stuff, feeling really sad, really depression. There, the D word. And I got in the studio. It's like, God, I'm in no space to do this ecstatic song. It's all too much. In the positive sense, he's saying it's not like, oh, God, life sucks so bad, it's too much. No, he's saying the revelation of the universe, of the light, of the essential love that's is and everything emerges from. Uh, so I had the band, and we started playing it, and it happened. And I just said, and the music itself just and singing and being there just lifted the darkness from my soul. Great gift. And I don't think I'm not going to feel that way anymore, but that's one of my gifts. I'm a depressive, and I'm one of the reasons that WeAwake exists is because I had to use this technology to keep myself in the game of life, because I got very dark and very suicidal at times. So yeah. So we also have to open ourselves up, not just to the shadow stuff and our woundings and the pain, and when we start feeling, the suffering of others, which is really hard, but it's also the road to compassion. So we have to go through that. But there is light and beauty and the ecstatic experience of God that reveals so much about the true nature of things, and it comes in many versions. But I think part of what we do when we use this technology is open ourselves up to those experiences, and it's really good, right? And at some point, Jesus said, "Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." And I kind of reinterpret, like, if you're hungry for God and you don't believe in God, I mean, that's okay. I mean, a lot of so-called God representatives don't do a very good job. And but if you feel that hunger and that longing for your spiritual home, you can ask Spirit, "God, help me to understand. God is love. What's that mean?" And yeah, you keep showing up, and it'll become part of your reality and your experience. And it's important, because without it, Abraham Maslow, the great psychologist, said, you can't be healthy without these experiences of light and bliss and awe. Obviously, not all the time, but at least once in a powerful way, and sometimes much more than once. So ask for help, you know, do your, ask for God's help, and do your work, and things will start shifting, synchronicities and grace shows up, and you just start waking up, and for all these different things. So anyway, thank you for hanging in there with me, and God bless you all, and may God enlighten your souls with the palpable experience of infinite love that does away with all fear and covers all suffering. It's that powerful. Okay, thanks.